Am I on? Let me tell you, the one thing you get points for, besides having Chris do this and Nick and you, is I've never been to this garden, and I'm glad to see it. Yeah, you got me to the garden, and that counts. I'm an only child, and I was raised on Long Island. Okay. And my mother taught public school while I was growing up, so I always had a working mom. And I had an unusual childhood because my father stayed home. He wrote comic books. He was a commercial writer, and so he was around more during the day than she was, actually. He was there, and he was also cooking. Oh, wow. Probably that he helped turn me into the feminist I think I am, as a matter of fact. He wrote Superman and Batman. When I was a kid, I had a lot of attention from the guys because I thought they were interested in me, but I think they were interested in my father, as a matter of fact. I think it was an interesting childhood because my mother wasn't exactly a great fan of comic books, but it's what put the meals on the table, along with her work. So together, they offered me really both scholarship and creativity, and I feel very fortunate to have benefited from that childhood. My dad eventually became a concert producer, and so I grew up having a very strong interest in the arts. It was one of the attractions of coming to Rutgers that not only women in science, but women in the arts was highlighted as part of my task. I'm a sort of second-rate but enthusiastic piano player. Okay. And when I went to college, I started playing piano at cocktail parties. Wow. I would use a fake book and sort of improvise my way through Cole Porter and Gershwin and Irving Berlin. I was a child of the 60s, so I taught myself guitar, and when I worked as a camp counselor, I was one of the people leading sing-alongs. People who have known me well said, you know, camp counseling seemed to come very naturally to me. My parents, in the summertime, owned a day camp, and I worked for them. My mother mostly got the campers from the school district, where she was widely known as a very good teacher. The name of the camp was Ivy League Day Camp. Okay. And I think they were sort of inspired to have a title that would sound sort of high-end and highfalutin. Ivy League Day Camp, right? And I worked for them for, about a decade. And then I worked at another camp, a YWCA camp in the Catskills, and worked at a camp in the Berkshires. So I spent a lot of summers with kids. And maybe that's because I was an only child. I really loved kids, always planned to have kids, and happy to say that I've raised two wonderful young women, twins. Okay. Somebody said to me, you were always an overachiever, you did it in one shot. I'm probably the archetypal Jewish mom, hard to get rid of me. I feel that, you know, they take the good with the bad, and the good is that they know they can count on me, and the bad is they know they can count on me to call them all the time. Great universities really get their energy and their integrity from the work of students and scholars teaching and learning together. And what has been just phenomenal for me is to meet and spend time with the students here. Faculty have a lot to say about how students become leaders, including how they intellectually size up problems, how they critically think about issues, not just for themselves, but for their communities and for society at large. I think it was Gandhi said, be the person you wish to see changing the world, or a paraphrase like that. Rutgers is very well poised to have a media focus in its women's work that it hasn't had heretofore. So for me, adding the health and media work to arts work, to women and technology and science feels very natural and very comfortable. And I did a lot of that work when I worked at the Ford Foundation for a number of years. The title I formerly had was a Vice President for Knowledge, Creativity, and Freedom. Freedom of expression, primarily, but also freedom to be who you want to be. And Rutgers feels a very good fit on that front, too, because this is a university that aspires to really allowing people and encouraging them to find their own voice, wherever that takes them. Gina Davis, the actress who I had a chance to meet and spend some time with, has this great phrase. She says, "If you can't see it, you can't be it." And for women and girls, that's especially important. I feel that there's no institution in the country more equipped to be concerned about gender equity, gender justice than Rutgers. I think Rutgers is right up there at the top with some of these institutions in terms of first-generation students, students of color, women students, and of course legacy students that come from great Rutgers traditions by the Raritan. I'm a historian that believes that history is not made by singular individuals, but sometimes it's very important to understand, especially younger people understand, that these lives of notable accomplishment did not start out to be notable accomplishments. And so for me, history is often well told through the lives of others and through narratives that bring these people to life. Women are donors, and in fact their percentage of wealth as part of the totality of wealth in America is increasing and is likely to increase. So the question becomes, how do women think about philanthropy? How does philanthropy think about women's issues? Women in health is a very big field, and we need to make sure we have the right focus in it. It seems highly appropriate that we take a look at health disparities between different classes and races and ethnicities of women. Also, disparities in terms of the kinds of health issues women face compared to men. My expertise is very much about women's reproductive health. That is, the whole question of women's bodily integrity, their ability to make choices about when they wish to have children and under what circumstances. And frankly, that's one very important theme, but not the only one. African American women are 7 times more likely to contract the HIV virus than white women. This is something that we need to understand and look at. We're an institute that believes that the best possible problem solving involves a diversity of experiences and perspectives. What's most important is that we have a shared vision, a collective vision of what the Institute can be going forward. The teaching role of the Institute for Women's Leadership, not just the scholarly role. The Institute can help enhance the leadership opportunities and traits of students. This is a wonderful time of transition at Rutgers. One of the things that I care a lot about is that this not be seen as a zero-sum game. That if women take on more leadership positions, somehow men are going to lose something in the process. Clearly, if you have 1/2 of the population only constituting less than 20% of the leadership positions, then there's an imbalance that needs to be rectified. But you know, for me, a fairer and more gender equity-oriented society benefits both men and women, because then you get the best talent trying to make the best decisions across the board, and you eliminate the barriers that are stereotypic or social conventions that have outlived their usefulness. I'm very honored to be here. I think it's a great public university, a great international university, and our best days are ahead. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I had no idea that Rutgers had these little pockets of beauty, and I like walking a great deal, so I'll be over here a lot. Is that it? Okay, all right. Just show me a piece of it to see what it looks like. Can you do that?